Let's look at a few examples. We want to write each as a unit rate. We want to write 300 feet in 8 seconds as a unit rate. So we're going to start out with the 300 feet over 8 seconds. And then what we're going to do is we're going to divide. We want the denominator to be 1, so we want to divide by 8. So we're going to divide by 8 into 300, and we're going to divide by 8 into 8. Now, what we do when we divide by 8 into 300, we can do that here, or we can do it in our calculator. Of course, 8 goes into 30 3 times. 3 times 8 is 24. Subtract gives me 6. Bring down the 0. 8 into 60 goes 7 times. 7 times 8 is 56. Subtract gives us 4. Bring down the 0, which gives me 5. No remainder. So 37.5, and that's what we get. 37.5 feet to 1 second, or we write it better as 37.5 feet per second. And we write the per with a line, and we read it 37.5 feet per second. And I notice again, we put what's in front, what's at the beginning, 300 feet on the top. In 8 seconds, the 8 seconds goes in the denominator. We're then going to get a 1 in the denominator. So we need to divide both the numerator and the denominator by 8. That gives us 37.5 feet in 1 second, which we write this way. Second example, you're interested in how fast you're driving. And what you do is, if you've got a question, what is your rate of speed in miles per hour if you drive 150 miles in 2.5 hours? Well, if we want miles per hour, that means we want miles in the numerator and hours in the denominator. So we write 150 miles in the numerator, 2.5 hours in the denominator. Now, to simplify this, we want to find the unit rate. We want to get 1 in the denominator. So we're going to divide the numerator by 2.5 and the denominator by 2.5. When we divide 2.5 by 2.5, of course, we get 1. To divide 150 by 2.5, that means we're going to get 150 over 1 divided by 2.5, which is going to be 150 over 1 divided by, change to an improper fraction, 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 gives me 5 halves. Change division to multiplication, and we get 150 over 1 times 2 over 5. 5 will divide both 5 and 150. It divides 150 30 times. And then we get 30 times 2 is 60. So we end up with 60 miles per 1 hour, which we write as 60 miles per hour. The word per is used a lot of times to indicate a unit rate. Whatever comes before the per is going to go on the top, what comes after the per, the word per, is going to go on the bottom. Since we had miles per hour, we put miles on the top, hours on the bottom. A unit price is a special unit rate. The definition is it is cost per unit. A unit price means cost per unit. Now let's look at an example of a unit price. We want to write $4.77 per 9.54 pints as a unit price. So that means 477 came before the per, 954 pints came after the per, so that means the $4.77 is going to go on the top of our fraction, 954 is going to go on the bottom of our fraction. So we get cost per unit, so that means we put it in this form. Now we want to be able to get a 1 in the denominator, so again we're going to divide both the numerator and the denominator by 9.54. And if we do that on our calculator, we find out that $4.77 divided by 9.54, and that's actually pints, is going to give us 50 cents per pint, or 50 cents, depending on whether you want to use it and write it in decimal form or in cent form. They both mean the same thing. In the stores, sometimes you see it written this way, and other times you find it written using the cent sign. And you've got to be careful because this decimal means that is 50 cents. If you had the decimal here and the cent sign, that means you're less than a penny. So you've got to be careful. Let's now try some practice problems on our unit rate. And here we want to write each as a unit rate or unit price. Our first example is 10 feet in 4 seconds. Our second problem is 3,750 words on 15 pages. We want words per page. And number 3 is $11.05 for 3.4 pounds. I hope it's good meat. And now push the pause and work these problems, and when you're through, come back and check your answers. These are the answers to those 3 practice problems. 2.5 feet per second. The 30,750 words on 15 pages reduces to 250 words per page. And the $11.05 for 3.4 pounds reduces to $3.50 per pound. I hope it's steak.